Hello everyone and welcome to the 4th episode in the series of things you may have missed in The Witcher 3. If you haven't seen the previous 3, you can take a look at the playlist down in the description. In this one, however, I'll be taking the liberty of breaking away from the 5 rule and instead going for 10 small things you may have missed in Kaer Morhen, with a couple of bonuses in the end as usual. I admit that some of the things here aren't terribly rare or that hard to miss, but I think they're worth mentioning nevertheless. Alright, let's get to the good part and start going down the list. Small thing you may have missed in Kaer Morhen, number 1. While wandering in this general area, you may stumble upon the corpses of brutally murdered drowners. If you try to follow the trail they make down the river, you'll soon find a cave inhabited by a very old and angry troll. As the neighbor's dog keeps barking, I'm sorry if you hear it. So, exploring the cave, however, reveals that there is more to him than meets the eye. You find a smashed boat and a note, one that references the intro section of the first game in the series, the attack on Kaer Morhen. The note is written by this gentleman and I find it a little confusing. To me, based on the contents of the message, it seems like someone was dispatched with this note and was supposed to deliver it to a group of people somewhere. They, in turn, were meant to support the attack on Kaer Morhen, but that never happened because the messenger's boat was intercepted by this troll. Yet upon reading it, Geralt says that they owe this troll a lot because he must have nabbed the owner of the note before he could reach the fortress. So apparently he was on his way to the fortress to deliver the note, or perhaps we're meant to assume that others were with him and the troll just killed the whole reinforcement party? I'm not entirely sure, but regardless, both the game and I agree that if it wasn't for the troll, the attack on Kaer Morhen would have been more difficult to handle. Feel free to post a comment down below to help me get the order of events straight here. And the other thing you find in the cave is yet another drowner corpse. This troll must have really hated them. I wish I hadn't killed him. Anyway, that's all I had for number 1. Let's move on to small thing you may have missed in Kaer Morhen number 2. This one is not very difficult to miss, as it's located somewhat near to the castle, but it's one of the few instances in the game where you can utilize KEIRA METZ's magical ghost detecting lamp, and so I decided to include it in the list. Besides, I have a question about it as well, for those of you who have read the books perhaps. And so it's the Bastion. Located over here, as you walk by its gate, Geralt will mention training here as a boy. And upon venturing inside, you'll realize that it's infested with wraiths. Using the lamp reveals the story of what happened here and why the place is haunted. We see brief scenes of the boy going through rough training to become a witcher, until at some point a horn is heard and the boy is instructed to hide. Unfortunately, it turns out he ended up stabbed and killed. By a pitchfork nonetheless, and if you look closely, there are actually not one but 2 pitchforks. The quest ends with Geralt burying the remains of the boy along with 2 swords, a silver and a steel one, like a proper witcher. Now the question I had about this, to those who have read the books, and I'm not even sure if that's explained there, but when did this happen? The attack that led to the death of the boy, is it the same one that led to the ruin of the Bastion? And if so, it was before the time Geralt and Lambert trained to become witchers, right? But if that was the case, why wasn't it already haunted before when Geralt was in training? I'm not quite sure, but I'm looking forward to your answers. And without further delay, we're going to small thing you may have missed in Kaer Morhen number 3. So, you bring Uma to Kaer Morhen and you're headed towards the stairway that leads to our lovely sorceress.
God damn it, you piece of shit!
Uh-oh.
And if you choose to keep walking straight for a while, you will stumble upon a note describing witchers in a rather unpleasant manner. In short, it says that they are loathsome degenerates born from the darkest depths of hell, because when they inflict suffering and torment upon others, they feel like they basically have orgasms or something. It ends by saying that only the devil himself can derive pleasure in such ways. Anyway, the note will unlock a quest named The Witcher's Forge. You end up going to an abandoned and depleted iron mine and finding an enchanted forge, along with what seems to be a golem possessed by a spirit of a long-dead mage. There's a Falca reference, and the construct itself is called Ifrit, not sure how to pronounce it, which in folklore has often been associated with hellish things, so it kind of reminds me of the note that started it all. Anyway, once we deal with it, we get to use another of KEIRA METZ's trinkets. I guess they're kind of thematic for Kaer Morhen. The one that's used now is the Eye of Nehaleni. Thanks to it we're able to dispel the illusionary wall and also find the master-crafted woven armor already crafted and waiting for us. So that concludes my number 3. Going right into small thing you may have missed, number 4. Right around the same spot where Ermion and Vesemir can be found before the Battle of Kaer Morhen, there's a small cell with a chest in the far corner. If you open it, you'll find BERENGAR'S notes. That will start you on a quest called BERENGAR'S Blade. Apparently the guy in question was trying to forge a sword, and not just any sword.
And not just any sword, judging by his notes. Torhan, how to talk to Vesemir.
You can then talk to Vesemir about it, and here's what he says.
Boy never managed to forge the blade, but would never let me at the anvil. Just pestered me with questions. Wanted to do it all by himself. Berengar set out to hunt a chort.
He also gives you the location of the chort's lair. If you go there and deal with the chort, you will get your hands on the Torherain diagram. Keep in mind that if you haven't enabled Hattori in Novigrad to craft swords for you, most other swordsmiths won't be able to forge it for you. One I was able to find who's capable of doing it is the guy in Oxenfurt. Sadly, Vesemir doesn't have any special lines if you show up in front of him with the sword. Anyway, we're almost halfway there. Coming up next is small thing you may have missed, number 5. Some of you surely know the deleted scene in Kaer Morhen, where in the middle of Uma's Witcher trial, Yennefer says she's starving and asks Geralt to cook something for her. An omelette with vegetables and whatnot. Now, something I suppose is less known about this deleted scene is that in case Geralt broke Yennefer's heart atop the mountain in Skellige during the Last Wish quest, she will not ask him to cook for her. Instead, she would turn to Vesemir.
Good, I'm famished. Would... Vesemir, would you mind preparing something for me?
Something? Sure. Just don't expect pate and crumpets. More likely to get bean and tomato stew. Or
whatever.
Sadly, in that case we don't get to see him do the cooking, and the sequence is much shorter. For those of you who would like to experience these scenes and don't know how, well, here's how. First, download the mod that allows you to enable the console in-game, and second, before starting Uma's trial, open the console and type in addfact q401_cooking_enabled, in brackets, you see it on screen, then simply proceed and do the quest. As far as I know, it doesn't affect or break anything, so you should be safe. And that was all I had for number 5. Let us now get into uncharted territory for this series with small thing you may have missed in Kaer Morhen, number 6. Big spoilers I suppose, though I've made a video about it a long time ago. Lambert dies in the Battle of Kaer Morhen if KEIRA METZ or Geralt aren't there to save him. So normally with KEIRA there, she will cast a spell to deal with the Wild Hunt soldiers who are trying to get at him. If she isn't, however, it will be up to Geralt to jump in and help Lambert. If you're like me though, the first thing you'll do is just sit and watch to see what happens. And well, they kill him.
they killed him! They're sons of bitches! They killed Lambert!
Later on, he's seen on the funeral pyre right next to Vesemir. As I'm talking about this, I suddenly realized that I've never actually had him die while Letho was present. Could it be that he has something to say or do? I guess it's just another thing that needs to be investigated. So, after a rather grim 6th point, let's move on to something much lighter in tone. And speaking of KEIRA METZ, small thing you may have missed in Kaer Morhen, number 7. If the blonde sorceress is convinced to come to Kaer Morhen, I'm sure you know you can find her grooming her hair and whatnot right before the main hall, before the Battle of Kaer Morhen begins, and you can have a brief chat with her about why she didn't arrive earlier and so on. But did you know the 2 things I'm about to tell you? 1. If you stand on the right spot, you'll be able to use the Eye of Nehaleni to try and dispel her illusionary setup. Of course it wouldn't work, but it's a fun little thing you can do.
Leave my dresser alone.
And 2, if after you're done talking to her you go back and talk to her again, you'll get one of 2 options. To trade with her or to leave the conversation. Here's the thing though, if you choose to trade, you can never leave the conversation. It bugs out, and upon leaving the trade you simply stand there with no dialogue options available, and so you're locked up with her forever, or until you force quit the game. Okay, moving past KEIRA METZ now and going for the small thing you may have missed, number 8. But before I continue, let me take a brief moment and ask you to give this video a like if you've enjoyed it so far, and to consider subscribing to my channel and enabling notifications if you haven't yet done so. Also, if you really wish to support me, you could do it by becoming a member of my channel, a Twitch subscription on YouTube basically, or on my Patreon page. Finally, I would also like to thank all of those members and patrons for helping make all of this possible. Thank you guys, and now let's move on with, where were we? Thing number 8. And while I'm on the topic of thanking people, let's do it one more time here, because here is something I had actually missed, and this wonderful person here pointed it out to me. So here's what I did know. That over here, if you walk to the side of the entrance along the yard, you find this book with some pages missing. For some reason though, I had completely missed out the fact that you find it in what appears to be the remains of an outhouse. So it turns out the Witchers were using this book as toilet paper. And off we go to Small Thing You May Have Missed in Kaer Morhen, number 9. After you find CIRI on the Isle of Mists and she teleports you back, the quest will naturally lead you back into the keep so you can begin the final preparations before the battle for Kaer Morhen. On your way there you'll encounter pretty much everyone you've summoned to help you. However, someone you might miss is CIRI herself, who is hanging about the same place she trained at as a little girl. You know, in the intro of the game? She'll even make a brief reference to it if you go and talk to her.
I used to fear training on this. So many bruises.
Additionally, you can converse with her about other things and even ask for advice about Triss or Yennefer if you're romancing them, though I believe you can still get all of these bits of dialogue at later stages of the game as well. Right, the end of the video draws close, and once again we're going outside of the castle for Small Thing You May Have Missed in Kaer Morhen, number 10. Located way over here on the map, you can find an unnaturally cold place with 3 large, magically saturated boulders positioned in a triangle. They basically look like the places of power normally do. In fact, that's what I thought they were initially. So if we investigate the location further, we find some herbs, and thanks once again to KEIRA's eye gadget, we also find a mage's notes. The evidence reveals that he resided here, perhaps worked for the Witchers or with the Witchers, and he was trying to magically create this greenhouse, as he calls it, in order to cultivate exotic herbs. After triggering the magical stones with your signs and dealing with an angry chort, you finally manage to warm up the climate in the area, and after some time has passed, if you choose to return here, you'll find that herbs have indeed grown all over the place, and you can freely pick them up and brew anything you need. However, it seems you cannot just meditate and keep farming them. I actually found a bear lying around upon returning to the place for a 3rd time. Right, with all 10 things out of the way, let's have a look at a couple more quick bonus ones I have for you. First up is Triss's earring. I'm sure all of you know about this, but just in case, you can find it pretty much opposite to the outhouse, amidst the remains of the bed Yennefer threw out. You can then bring it to Triss, and she'll even wear it, along with the second one that she already had in her possession. Be warned though that Triss-related mods can make the earrings appear and disappear at seemingly random moments. And the second one is, guess who? Once again, KEIRA METZ. I believe this is possible at any point after the Battle of Kaer Morhen. Here I'm actually doing it after finishing the main game and way into Hearts of Stone, judging by the shovel on my back. So if you return to where CIRI trained in the castle and jump over the wall, you can find KEIRA just standing there. I suppose she forgot to leave after Vesemir's funeral. She thinks she's in Velen apparently, and you can ask her about Lambert if they ended up together. So there we go. Now before I end this video, I'd like to say that there are still a couple of things I intentionally left out, as they are meant to be part of future videos in this series. You'll know more about them when I get to making them. And finally, don't forget to share your thoughts below about any or all of the things I mentioned in this video. Feel free to post any other curious details about Kaer Morhen that I did not include, although as I said I might be saving them for later. And thank you all for watching. I'm sorry for delaying this video more than I said I would, and I really hope you enjoyed it. Until the next one, stay tuned and be good.